Welcome, everybody. Emily, how you doing? Can I get a Marco? So, Michelle Johnson, Alibi. So, you guys are going to actually learn a little bit about me tonight. Okay. So, if you saw the thumbnail, you're going to learn a little bit about me tonight. If you saw the thumbnail. So, DJ Road Knox, cool gamer. So, tonight's live is an interesting live. But before I get started, I want to just say hello to everybody. How's everybody doing? It rained earlier today. It froze over. It's really cold outside. So, what's the weather like in your area? That's awesome, Rogue. That's awesome. Rainy. Yeah, it's rainy over here too. Roads are still wet. It's slushy from all the snow. 63 alibi? Aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky? So you guys saw the thumbnail. I'm going to be doing my live about mental health within the prison system. That's what my live's going to be about today. Jeez Louise, that's how people get sick. Be nice and warm outside, you dress for the weather, you get acclimated to it, and then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, it's freezing cold again, and that's how you get sick. It's just wild. So, a lot of you don't know is at one point in my life, many, many moons ago, you know, 2 decades ago, I was incarcerated. It wasn't the proudest moment of my life, and I've probably shared it a few times, but it's about the mental health aspect of it while being incarcerated. So I'm going to get right to it. So, and this is a statistic that I pulled up today. Um, about 2 in 5 people who are incarcerated have a history of mental illness. About 2 in 5 people, 37% in state and federal prisons, and 44% held in local jails. This is twice the prevalence of mental illness within the overall adult population. Kimberly KV, how are you doing? A lot of people don't realize that they say, hey, when they go to prison, they're going to be rehabilitated. And in reality, in most cases, unless you rehabilitate yourself, you're not going to come out rehabilitated. You're not. Yeah, I usually don't go live on Fridays and Saturdays, but this past couple of weekends, you're getting to lucky me. You're getting to see me. The Snooper, how are you doing, young lady? It's been a while. So I'm talking about mental health within the prison system and how bad it is. It's tough. You know, they have counselors and therapy. You can go to group therapy and stuff like that. But you got to be careful on what you say because inmates will hold it against you. Inmates will use it against you. So you got to be careful of what you say when you're in group therapy. You got to be careful of what you say in therapy. Tons of work. At least you're staying busy. But the prison environment can be inherently damaging to the mental health due to the consequent consequent disconnection from family, society, and social support, loss of autonomy, diminishing meaning and purpose of life, fear of victimization, increased boredom, the unpredictability of surroundings, overcrowding, and punitiveness. That's just the sum. Okay. So Rogue Knox, yeah, there was a CO. We'll talk about it, but there's a lot of places where a lot of inmates don't get the care that they deserve and they need. There's a lot of inmates that are mentally unstable, mentally ill, and they lash out. They do things that you know they need help, and throwing them into a prison system that has four walls, a cot, and three hot meals. Okay, that sounds like a vacation. But in reality, getting incarcerated can change your mentality. If you've never been locked up and you get locked up and you're doing some serious time, you might, and you get out, there's no second chance in most cases, depending on the crime. People make mistakes. Do some people learn from them? Yes. Do others? No. Okay. It's just they say, oh, when you go to prison, you're going to be rehabilitated. No, you're not. When you go to jail, if you go to jail, most cases, hey Smitty, how you doing? Most cases, when you go to jail, it'll scare you straight because jail is not for long periods of time. Jail, the most time you can get in jail is 11 months and 29 days. Anything over that, you go to prison, unless you're on pretrial, unless you're waiting to go to court and you're fighting a case. You could be in a county jail anywhere up from a year, 2 years, if not more, while you're fighting a case. Now they say the restriction of movement and deprivation of human contact triggers psychological responses ranging from anxiety and panic to hallucination. Those are the effects. If you've noticed, have you critical thinking? Yes. Yes. That's a subject I'm not going to talk about on here, but I will agree with you. have been in county a long time. Yes. Okay. And their mental well-being is not in the greatest shape because they're probably not getting the best treatment that they need. They're not even allowed parole or bail. They're or if they have bail, it's set at a number that they can't afford to get out. The thing is a lot of people don't realize how. You ever heard of institutionalized or being institutionalized? That means that when you get out, that's all you know. They don't prepare you mentally for getting out. They just throw you out there. So you don't know what to do, how to react. In most cases, people don't go to the halfway house. They max their time out behind the walls. I don't know. It's just when I was in there, therapy did not work for me because you had to be careful in what you said. If you had thoughts of, um, if you had thoughts of unaliving yourself, they report that to the COs, and then now you get put into a separate room all by yourself, away from everybody, because you opened up to your therapist that you had thoughts, not that you were going to act on it, but you had thoughts. Everybody's had thoughts of different things. But once you do that, now that person can't say, reach out for help and talk about it. They just shun them. It's mental health is serious, and we don't take it serious. We don't take mental health serious whatsoever. I wish we did. I wish this country as a whole would take it serious. Yes, when you get out of prison, you're not, and you did your time. Okay, you get out of prison, you did your time. They don't look at you as rehabilitated. They look at you as an ex-con. They look at you as a criminal, even after you did your time. They don't treat you as a normal person. Okay, they do not treat you as a normal person. They treat you as an animal when you're in there. Look at the crime rate. You can get anything and everything being incarcerated. Nope. The internet hasn't helped either. I agree, critical thinking. You can't start over either. But it's just tough. I have friends that have came out and they've tried to turn their lives around, you know, and they end up back in there because of their charges. Okay. I think now you do have people that are violent. That's one thing. But what's the root of their violence? What caused them to lash out? What caused them to do what they did? Is it their upbringing? It's the trauma they went through. We don't know these things because we don't care to know these things because we consider them animals. And when you go to prison or county jail, you don't have a name, you have a number. You're not a person anymore. You're just a number. You're in the prison system, you're a dollar figure. Okay. How much money are we getting paid for you to be here? How much money can we get you to make working for us? You know, it's like you have to, it's hard to explain what the the mind thinks when you get out and things are around you are different. It's sad. It's sad. Um, See, I asked a few people, a few friends of mine, if they'd come up here and talk about it, and one of them openly said it'd be triggering. And you know what? I agree. I agree. In some cases, depending on who it is, talking about it, going back in the past, can trigger them to go back to their old selves. And I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? They work so hard to get where they're at today. I wouldn't want to, hash up old stuff. And yeah. So I'm like, never mind. I'll talk about what I know, what have I experienced, and what I've been through. I can't talk about everybody because every situation is different. My situation, I was in therapy when I was incarcerated, and I was young. I was stupid. I didn't care. I gave up on myself. And when I was in therapy, the therapist asked me, "Do you have thoughts of unaliving yourself?" And I said, "When you're incarcerated, who doesn't have that thought? When you don't know when you're going to get out, who doesn't have that thought?" I said, "I have that thought." And just because I said that, when I went back to my pod, my when I went back to general population, all of a sudden they come in and they're like, "You're coming with us." And I got thrown into the special room, I'm gonna call it. Special room. You're right, critical thinking. You're right. That is not only can you not start over, even after yes, yes, they look at you as a yes. All that will make a person mentally ill. Okay. Yes, I agree. It took a while to fight for myself. Even though I do not have a felony on my record. And hello, Marina, how you doing? Even though I don't have a felony on my record, um, my reputation got tarnished, and I had to rebuild my reputation. It took years and years to rebuild something from scratch. Okay. And I have never really talked about what I went through completely. You know, you got a lot of these channels who talk about the prison system and what it was like in prison and how to act in prison and the behavior in prison and the food that you eat in prison. But a lot of them don't really talk about the mental health aspect in prison or in jail. They don't talk about how a huge percentage of the inmates in there have mental issues. And instead of focusing on the problem, they make it worse. They don't focus on, okay, this person is struggling with this. Let's see how we can improve him. So when he gets out, he's a better person. They don't think of that. They don't, things need to change. And yet there is a stigma. There is a stigma about it. Even if you're not ever been locked up and you're mentally ill or you struggle with anything, depression, bipolar, PTSD from childhood, something traumatic, and you're mentally ill, it's still a stigma. You go to therapy and people find out, it's a stigma. Oh, you got something wrong with you mentally. You must be crazy. It's considered a stigma. And until we can start accepting one another for who we are and not what we've done in our past. Yes, Emily. A lot of times prisoners are treated as lost causes. Yes. You know, when this topic of discussion came across me in my Discord, I, you know, because I know so many people that have done time and I know how they were when they got out, you know what I'm saying, and how they responded to society. You know, I have friends that they couldn't find a job. Now they own businesses, they own their own businesses, but they had to turn back to the streets. And I said, "Hey," like I would talk to a couple of them and I'm like, "Well, why don't you take the money you've made and start a business and get out of the streets? Work for yourself. Get a job in construction." Because a lot of people in construction are like me, labeled an ex-con, labeled, labeled. That's what we're labeled. When you get out of prison, you're an ex-con, or you're a criminal still, or you know, it's wild. It's wild. It's just that I wish the state, federal, and local government would take mental health serious. You're right, George. You're right. It depends on what you go in for. Trust me. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. 100%. It depends on what you go in for. I agree. And I'm not going to talk, I'm just talking about it in general. Okay. Because you got people that shouldn't be on the streets. Okay. You got people that shouldn't see the light of day. But then you got ones like people that are in the streets trying to survive and pay bills because it's hard to find a job out here, especially your education levels and stuff like that. The school system is hard because the way you get an education and the way somebody else gets an education is different. It was hard for me in school because I, I technically, I'm a visual learner, right? So a person who's a visual learner, okay, is coded as special. They have special needs. Okay. It's not that I was special, it's just that the way I learned things was different than you, different than me. Okay. So when the school system fails you, and then say for example, you come from a single parent household, that's even harder. That's harder, coming from a single parent household. You don't have the the strength. That's the reason why a lot of people talk about the when you have two parents, when you have your mom and your dad, your upbringing is going to be different than when you have one and not the other. That's why a lot of people talk about nature versus nurture. In my opinion, I think nature is the father and nurture is the mother. That's how my brain works. The father teaches you the father teaches you how to be to handle world situations. The mother teaches you how to care for people. The father teaches you how to be strong mentally and physically, teaches you how to protect yourself, how to take care of your family. That's what the father does. When it comes to a male, the father teaches that male how to do this, that, and the other thing. The mother teaches the daughter how to do this, that, and the other thing. It's hard for a mother to be a father. It is. I grew up in a single mother household. You know, I didn't have a father growing up. Maybe if I did, things might have turned out differently, but they didn't. And I have no control over that outcome. No one does. I can't control having a father or not. But as I got older, I could control what I did in life to a certain extent. Because sometimes, as a child growing up, sometimes you end up throwing your life away too young. Connie Corso, you can throw Chad off sometimes. I always thank my dad for teaching me how to be. Oh, you're hilarious. You're hilarious. Uh, but no, back on a serious note, is if you come from a single family household, in most cases, you turn to the streets. You turn to the streets to find that father figure. Luckily, I didn't, because if I did, I'd probably turned out differently, a lot worse. I had friends that turned to the streets, and some of them are not here today. That's cool, Kimberly. In my area, medical and mental is horrible. The excuse is it's too expensive. The ex prison counselor in my hometown is barely qualified. They got all that money and they can't do nothing with it. They got all that money. You know what they just did in my state? So I'll tell you what they did in my state. It was really a profit. Okay. They just shut down half of the state hospital in my state. They closed up half of the state hospital. They got rid of a lot of the staff, so they just shortened the state hospital. So you got a lot of people that are homeless that are mentally ill. Okay. So I don't think mental illness is a profit. All right. Okay. I'm about to do this. About to do this. About to do this. Okay. Pop out chat. I knew that when I got to a touchy subject, that certain things were going to happen. I knew it. Well, the state I live in, the state I live in. So maybe for the organizations you're saying. So critical thinking. You're talking about organizations, right? Like, you know, you're talking about the organizations profiting. Am I correct? Critical thinking. You're talking about organizations profiting. Okay. All right. I agree. I agree. Their property. That yes, yes, I agree. I agree. So I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. Critical thinking. You know, instead of putting the money where it belongs, it's going in people's pockets. That's what's happening. Instead of helping the people that are mentally ill, that are homeless, people in these organizations are profiting it and putting it in their pockets. And I've noticed that. I've noticed that. That's the reason why homeless is getting worse. Yep. That's why the homelessness is getting worse because we're not taking care of our own people. These organizations are pocketing the money instead of taking care of instead of putting the money where it's supposed to go. Yep. Glad you came in the chat, critical thinking. I'm glad you came in the chat. Thank you for being here. Because we agree on a lot of things. We agree on a lot of things. Well, almost everything, believe it or not. You know, where I live, homelessness is pretty bad. And majority of the people who are homeless, most of them are mentally ill. And with the prices of everything going, and not only that, are they mentally ill, but they have addictions too. It's sad. It's really really sad. And then they're homeless, they're addicts, they end up in prison systems. So it's all a cycle. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. And it won't stop until somebody. So I will tell you this critical thinking. All right. So I'm not gonna one day I'm gonna be doing a Q&A on my channel. So you'll learn about me, okay? So, but I will tell you this. Somebody that has PTSD and bipolar and unspecified personality disorder, okay? I worked majority of my life with this condition, okay? And it was a struggle, okay? Because I didn't seek therapy, I didn't get help. I turned to an addiction. That was alcohol. That's how I survived. And I'm lucky to be alive, to be honest, because I was functioning. And in reality, I was killing myself, okay? I was destroying myself instead of getting the help that I needed. Well, I ended up in the hospital. And I'm not talking about a regular hospital because I had a mental breakdown where I did not want to live myself. Okay. But see, therapy helps me. But therapy helps me, to be honest. Seeing a therapist really helps me because if I didn't have that person to talk to every 2 weeks and to give me advice, somebody I could go to that I don't got to worry about putting my business out there. Oh, I agree. I'm not saying you're judging critical. I'm not saying you're judging. I get where you're coming from. I'm not saying you're judging. I get where you're coming from. Okay. I'm just saying from personal experience. Okay. I reached out for help and I'm getting the help that I need. If I didn't have the help that I have right now, Terry, how you doing? So if you don't get the help you need, you're just going to be in the same cycle over and over again. I probably wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for the help that I have. Okay. I'm just saying, I'm not saying you're judging. I'm just sharing myself as a person. You know, I say this all the time, and I tell this to everybody. Life's a bitch, and it's all in how you take it, okay, and handle it and push through, okay? You can let life and the negative things around you control you, and you can consume it, or you could say, throw your hands up and say, I need help and get the help you need. And let people help you. For 22 years of my life, for 22 years of my life, I would not get help. Yep, Emily, you're right. For 22 years of my life, um, I would not get help. I wouldn't tell anybody what happened. I wouldn't talk about it. Okay. I turned to alcohol to cope with everything. At 15 years old, I was an alcoholic. I drank every day except Sunday. Sunday I would sleep all day. Monday morning I wake up, start it all over again. Critical thinking. You know what's funny? I am from Florida. I'm from Florida, buddy. Uh, do I miss it? Yes. That's where I'm from, Florida. That's funny. That's funny. So you're always welcome here. I love other insight when I'm conversating and talking about things. I love the insight that you have, even though might not agree on everything, but I like that. Texas is a beautiful state. I've always wanted to go to Texas. But back to the subject at hand, right? Is even the drinking. When I got out of jail, I went right back to the old me. Nothing changed. I went right back to the drinking and not caring, and because when I was in there, I never talked about what happened to me. I kept it in what they call Pandora's box. Okay. You know what Pandora's box is? When you take the deepest, darkest memories you have and you try to bury them so far down that it doesn't affect you. But in reality, it's there and it's tormenting you until you can take care of it. A lot of people don't realize that if we don't take care of those issues, the ones that struggle with them, not everybody has that. We're all different people. There's no such thing as normal. We're all different. I don't believe in normal. Okay, normal doesn't exist. We're all different, and how we cope with things is different. How we handle situations are different. Some people are strong-willed, strong-minded individuals that they witness something, they can handle it. Normal is that we are different. The the thing with me is, in my experience, nobody else's. I don't talk for other people. I only talk for what I've experienced, and what I've seen firsthand and because you can't talk for other people. And that's one thing I can't stand is when people talk for other people. I talk about personal life, I talk about realness. I'm just me. I have a small community of people that respect me and I respect them. I have a small community of people that I talked to and tried to help. You know, I love everybody. I care about everybody and I want the best for everybody. Okay. And if I could save one person, that's all that matters to me. If I could save one person, and it doesn't matter the situation, that's what matters to me. If I could save everybody, I would, but I can't. But if talking about what I've been through and what I've experienced and what I've lived through, and if it saves one person, that's what matters to me. A lot of people go through things on a daily basis, and some people are afraid to acknowledge that they need a hand. Others don't need it, but they have a hand to offer. And we just got to get these people to come together. You know, not everybody can be saved, but if I can save at least one person, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Now, now that is over with. You still hear critical thinking? Just wondering if you're still here. Do you have Discord? All right, I'm going to post my link. I just dropped my link to Discord. I love to conversate with you. Maybe get you up on panel if you want to, and we could conversate and have a discussion about certain things. But there's one thing that I don't like talking about, and I'll be upfront. There's two things I don't talk about on my platform, and politics and religion. Okay, all right, but I'm always here. I'm here every night at 7 p.m. talking about something, having a conversation. I'm always here. So when you're in the position to get on Discord, you know, let me know. I'm here every night at 7 p.m. So because I like your thinking, I like your thought process, and maybe I like to pick your brain on other things and have a conversation. I come from. I just talk about experience. That's what this channel is about, life experience. So that's my email address. Emily just posted. You remind me of somebody else that comes into my chat. His That person's name is Silence. they come with facts and very intellectual conversation. So, but I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to open up the panel. See if anybody wants to come up. So, can I get people's suggestion what I should cover next? I'm working on some other subjects I'm putting together. I got Kane Corso's mom that's going to be coming up, and we're going to be talking about love languages. I'm not talking about it. I might ask questions and might learn from it, but I've been divorced twice. Now I'm not good at that subject. But she asked for a topic of discussion, and that's what she said: love languages. Anybody in chat got any questions? All right, I really hate. There we go. The link has been removed. Okay. Nature versus nurture. That could be a good subject. All right. Is the snooper still here? You just made it home? Nicole. He's like, hey, everyone, finally home and can chat. All right, critical thinking. Thank you for being here. Have a good one. All right. So now that the subject's over, this is where we go off the rails. So did I tell you guys about my brakes, right? I did my brakes, right? I got my brakes done. And then the rear caliper on the passenger side rear end decided to lock up and not work. So I had to order a new caliper. Now I'm waiting for that to come in the mail. It should be here tomorrow. Should be in tomorrow. So I'm just, yeah, the hour's almost up. We're almost at an hour. I think that's the longest I've ever gone talking about a subject. Usually I talk about a subject for 30 minutes and then it goes off the rails 30 minutes afterwards for the last 30 minutes. Yeah, I turn my own wrenches. Yep. I fix my own vehicles. I usually I could have turned that subject into a 30-minute subject and then just carried it on. But critical thinking came in and kept it going, and I liked the way his thought process was. He had some very good points. I wish I could have had him up on panel and talked about it because we'd have been two different spectrums. We would have had conversations. It would have been a really good discussion, my opinion. So you guys are an amazing group of people. Um, I'm gonna go to VC voice chat right after this. Okay. I'm gonna go to voice chat, all things serious voice chat on Discord right after this. So those of you who are listening, if you're in Discord, meet me in voice chat right after this live gets over. I'm going to be playing cribbage tonight. It's just I want to have voice chat right afterwards first, so I could just actually say hi to everybody because I haven't been in voice chat with everybody lately. Because by the time I get done with cribbage, everybody's like disappeared or gone to bed, or I'm just too tired. So if you guys can meet me in voice chat if possible. Does that sound like a win-win situation? I'm just asking for a friend. So I want to thank my mods for being here. I want to thank everybody for being here. Um, yeah, I saw what happened in chat, and it almost threw me off. It almost threw me off. You guys did well. Thank you. I wish I could get rid of that heart too, that emoji in the corner. I wish I could get rid of it too. So, but you guys did what you needed to do. I'll see you guys in Discord. All things serious, out. All right, we'll do that in Discord.